Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Victor Cho. Hi, Victor.
Hello.
It's great to have you on the show. We're going to have an amazing conversation about AI, but not your regular conversation about AI. This is going to be about humanizing AI, or keeping the humanity and the relationship, the true relationship, and how it all correlates. So I can't wait for this conversation. I want to first of all give a big shout out to Dan Kushel from Breakthrough 3X that introduced us. We were both at his wonderful mastermind a few months ago, and we connected there. I was really interested in what you're doing, and thank you again for being a guest here and sharing your knowledge with all of our listeners.
Oh, no, it's such a pleasure. It's an incredibly important topic from my perspective.
It really is.
That we have these conversations. We're not having enough of them, at least from my perspective. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Well, okay, so first of all, so the listeners know who you are. So you're a passionate consumer advocate. We're going to talk about that. Okay. You are the CEO of Emovid, the world's first authentic multimodal messaging platform. And it's built for businesses. And before that, you were the CEO at Evite, CEO and president of Kodak Gallery. And you definitely have a very successful career. And now you started Emovid. When did you start Emovid?
So I'm listed as a co-founder. The original idea actually came from another pair of founders, an individual that I've known for 30 years now. A gentleman named Digvijay and his wife are the original founding couple, and they came to me a couple of years ago with this question, which I love. I love deep questions that make me think, right? Because their background was all around helping people, memory, emotions, right? And they were like, wow, video is this format that's powerful. And they're like, how come we don't use video more in business other than Zoom, right? Real-time Zoom. They're like, why don't we use asynchronous video in business? And it's such a simple question. And I'm like, why don't we use asynchronous video? And like consumers use it, right? There's Snapchat, right? There's clear use cases for it. And so that took me down the rabbit hole of why not? Can it be solved? And the short answer is yes, absolutely. With AI, it can finally be solved. I actually don't think it could have been solved until recently.
So tell us about that solution. What is that solution all about?
Yeah, so at the highest level, so we call Emovid a multimodal communication platform. So you record your base message as a video, and in that way we capture your voice, your tone, your emotion, and everything. But we deliver that message in multimodal form, meaning the recipient gets the video, but they can just listen to the audio. They get an AI summary. They get a full transcript, so they can read it, they can listen, they can watch it, right? And so and then it's a back and forth system for messaging, right? It's not just, there's a lot of video products where you record a 10-minute video presentation, you like barf it in front of somebody, right? But that's not what we built. We built a communication platform where I can send to you, you send back to me, but asynchronously.
I interviewed Ari Meisel, who is a very known coach, and he's all about asynchronic communication. And he really got me into asynchronic communication. It saves a lot of time.
Yes.
I just got off a phone call right now. It was 8 minutes. If I would have done it in an asynchronic communication, it would have been less than a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be faster, but yeah, more importantly, there's only, if you really dissect all of the communication platforms that we use in business, there's there's only two ways to really build deep relationship, and that's actually what, well, people are only hearing us now, right? But Adi, I can see you, right? So, that's great. We can build, right? You build emotional connection that way, and face to face is the only other way to do it, right? Everything else is a poor communication form, right? And so one of the big question marks for me was, does asynchronous video-based messaging, right? Does it create the same relationship bond over time? And the short answer is, yeah, it absolutely does, right? You can build deep connections by seeing another person, not real time. And so that for me, once I realized that, I was like, oh, yes, this absolutely needs to exist in the world in a much bigger way.
So what are some use cases? Like who should use Emovid?
Yeah, and I would say at the highest level, anybody in business who needs to build relationships and where that's really key to their business. So there are, I think of the world very simply with very simple frameworks. But you can take any business and draw a pretty clean line through the business and say, these are things that are more relationship driven, and these are parts of the business that are more transactional. And for the transactional stuff, that's great. You drive for efficiency, right? AI is wonderful there, right? It's actually automating a lot of those processes. But our product is for the other half, where you're like, no, 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 this is really I'm raising money just for my company. I am interacting with my investors. I'm talking with my key suppliers or partners. I'm talking with my most important customers, right? There's so many areas of a business where relationships will matter, and they're not going to go away with AI. And what Emovid does for those people that are spending a lot of time there, it just massively multiplies their ability to build those relationships at scale.
Absolutely. Would you use it also internally for remote teams?
Yeah, we use it a ton internally, and there were a bunch of other folks. Yeah, they've gotten rid of many of their existing meetings where people are just sitting around waiting for somebody to round robin around the room. It's like you guys can round robin around an asynchronous hub, right? Unless you're really in deep, right, real time bidirectional communication, it doesn't have to be real time. So that saves a ton of time.
Absolutely. So when would you recommend actually having a synchronous communication as opposed to asynchronic communication?
Yeah, for me, the big one, it's in how fast the information exchange needs to go and how much like real-time brainstorming there is. So asynchronous is not good, right? When you need to do like rapid back and forth brainstorming, right? With two people or with a group, right? There's nothing that beats, right? Face to face or Zoom, right? For those types of interactions. But there is so much communication in business that's not that, right? If I look at my own email inbox, I'd say about 20% of the emails that I send out really are me, right, conveying something to somebody else, right? And I'm spending 10 to 20 minutes trying to craft the right message. It's like now that's a 1 to 2 minute multimodal message that I click and send, and then they can respond back.
Yes, absolutely. So give me some examples where people used Emovid in business and it really saved them time.
So the time equation is very simple. Most people don't realize this, but the average person speaks 4 to 5 times faster than they type. Even if you're a fast typer, you don't just sit down and type, 100 words a minute and send, right? You're always pausing because the written language has to be perfect usually, right? And you're worried about the tone, right? And how it comes across and finding the right words. None of that stuff, all that stuff happens naturally when you speak. So there's this very simple equation where if you're spending, 10 to 15 minutes writing an email, that's probably a 1 to 2 minute video message that you can send,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, that's
With
why,
the
like,
click of a
for
button.
instance, we use Slack internally. So I would record because not only because it's faster for me, but it's also I want my team to listen to my tone because that,
Yes,
you said, like if I type, it might have come very short. If I leave that message, it's a short message, but they can see that my tone is actually, I'm not upset at all. It's just that it was fast. Yeah, let's do it. It's great. That emotion also reflects in the
that's
message
right.
itself.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah, the equation is actually kind of crazy simple in some way. So it's like every Emovid that you send on a daily basis, if you send one Emovid a day during the week, you'll save roughly an hour of time. So I send like 10 to 15 Emovids a day. So I'm saving like literally 10 to 15 hours a week between long form typing. So it really depends on just how much you use it and how much email you're sending.
Right. And it's an easy platform to use because, sometimes I record videos. I will record a Loom video and send it as a Slack message, but that's additional things you have to do. Here it's instantaneous.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Would you
right.
use it also to hire people in interviews?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We absolutely. And anytime you need to, one line we have is, if you need to be seen, heard, or understood. So whether that's you needing to be seen, heard, or understood, or you actually really want to see, hear, and understand the other person, like those are scenarios where Emovid and video just nothing competes, right? Not, voice doesn't compete other than face to face, which is expensive, and trying to get time on calendar is very difficult.
Right. And I think there is a room for face to face. I mean, it's a great way to connect, but then in order to also nurture those relationships, you want to take it again. Like, let's say you meet with somebody, you connect, you see that there is collaboration, there is connection, there is a way to do business, but then you have to, it doesn't end there. There is the follow-up. So
Yes.
you're going to have another 3 face-to-face. You already know the person, but now it's back and forth. And that is really where the power is.
Yes. No, that's spot on. It's kind of crazy. I'm probably one of the heaviest users, of course, of the system, because I'm also the chief product officer. But it's funny. I tell people, like, if we were to completely fail and Emovid were to go away, it's like I need to go find another multimodal solution because it has changed how I scale myself in business. And so what I mean by that is I have probably 50 to 100 deep relationship building threads underway right now because of Emovid.
Yeah.
Right. You never have that pre-asynchronous. You don't have that, right? Because you're meeting someone and then maybe you meet with them 4 months later, right? It's a very removed interaction, but because this is so easy, right? It's like I could just press these buttons and then the person's in my room for a couple seconds and we have a quick exchange and we get that trust building. So that ability to have more connections that are actually like deeper trusted, running parallel is, I'm still digesting like what this means, but it's a crazy superpower is all I can say.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the connection between that and AI. And I know you are very much an advocate of remaining and retaining, and I agree with you, the human relations.
Yeah.
Where do you see AI stepping boundaries or making things that, taking over things that should be still in the realm of human emotions and connections?
Yeah, so I've always been, for the longest time, I've been a deep, passionate advocate for human connection. The last two, actually, including Emovid, the last 3 businesses that I've run have all been around, have been like large scale social networks, reached 100+ million people, whether it was a photo or Evite. But it was about bringing people together, right, to have actual interaction. And the reason I'm probably more excited about Emovid than any other business that I've run in many ways, because I see the risk of what's coming with AI and the agentic world that's going to come, and this line that I discussed of this cut line of transactions versus relationships. The whole world, because of AI and efficiency, is pushing into transactional mindset mode, right? Almost every AI company that I see, it's like, oh, great, you can get rid of all those people and have this bot talk to your customers, or this bot can talk to that bot, right? Like you can get humans, like they view humans as a cost, purely as a cost. It's like let's get rid of this cost, make it more efficient, and make it cheaper, which I think is just a terrible world to go build, right? Yes, that's good for some things, but again, there are like technology should be to serve us and make our lives more vibrant, right? Not to replace us. So I always talk about like, let's build solutions and tools that amplify humans, make us connect more. And you can't do that. Like we have a lot of AI in our system. It's not possible without AI, but it's in service to building connection as opposed to let's build something in service to just replacing.
Right. And I think AI can actually help us build those connections because it will free time to build the connections. So now you have the time that is freed up. How are you going to utilize it correctly in order to build those connections? And I think those humans that have that ability to build connections, they are going to be more valuable than ever, because then you really build the deeper connections, whereas all the other mundane tasks that AI can replace, or not even so mundane, but the time-consuming task, we are going to be able to, like as humans, we'll have to be able to think faster. The people that are really going to do well are those that are going to be able to know how to prompt and manage the AI and be
Yes.
smart about it. They will be able to identify if this is like what to do when the AI stops functioning, or when they, like, yes, I was searching something and it went into this loop where it basically spitted the same answer over and over again. Okay, what do you
Yes.
do? I mean, if you do not have your own skills of thinking and your own analytical skills and ability to figure it out, you won't be able to do that. And that is where it's going to be dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I sit on the advisory board of the University of Pennsylvania has their business school, Wharton, and they have a whole analytics and AI initiative. So I help advise that school. And one of the core topics is like what skills are going to be needed in this new world. And I think we've hit on what I think are two, like there's three kind of core buckets in my mind of what's going to be important. And I think a lot about this because I have young girls that are about to go off into, the one's in high school, one's about to go off into college. And I wonder, right? It's like, wow, in this world of AI, what the hell do you study to be relevant? And yeah, I think it's
What
what you
other skills
described.
in your, yeah.
Yeah, no. So one is this, I would call it like a broad systems thinking ability, critical thinking ability to be able to manage AI, right? Which is it's a conducting skill set. It's very different, right? You need a broad enough base of logic and thinking and processing to be able to, because you literally now have at your fingertips the world's top everything.
Right.
It will do whatever you want, but it's like, can you conduct those resources effectively like that? So that's kind of skill number one. I actually think like a liberal arts and like anything that's like deep in critical thinking, liberal arts, like those are actually great skill builders for that bucket. I think bucket number two is what we talked about in terms of people, right? The people are still going to run the world, and your ability to connect with other people and build relationships and influence people, right? That's not going to go away. In fact, I think it's be even more important. I see that as a huge gap actually in a lot of young kids who are so device centric.
They
I
are,
see.
because this is so important, because it's going to be the separation between the machine and the humans.
Yeah,
And that is where we're going to shine in terms of the emotional intelligence, in terms of the ability to
yes,
communicate, in terms of understanding people, because that's going to be more important than ever. Otherwise, we're going to become a robot society.
yeah, no, that's right. And then for me, the third bucket, which I think is, and I don't know if it's a 1% bar or a 5% bar, but I do think if you have a deep passion area and some kind of deep skill, like if you everyone's freaking out about coders, right? They're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't study coding. But I'm like, no, if you're like, if you're going to be one of the top 1% coders in the world, you still have an incredible life ahead of you, right? Because you're going to be at the outlier of that distribution. And now, if you have those other skills, you're going to be conducting AI and mobilizing people, right? And so, if you have an outlier skill and passion area, then kind of driving to that, and I don't know if it's top 1%, top 5%, top 10%, but the top ends of the distributions in any field, I think, are going to shine. For me, the big question is, what if you're not going to end up there? Like, what if you were just going to be an average coder in the world where AI clearly is going to outperform you? Does that make sense or not? And I think these questions are open.
They're very open. And I think we are also the ones who are going to design that future, because nobody really has the answers.
Yeah.
The answers are developing. And you're right. I mean, there can be, if you're average, AI can replace an average coder.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you really good at that AI cannot replace? And
Yeah.
I think that is the philosophical question that we have to look at.
Yep.
Because ignoring AI, it's not going to work. Saying that doesn't exist, it's not going to work, because it does exist. But also just relying on AI and letting it do the thinking for you, that's the dangerous part. You always have to lead. And
Yes.
that's where I think we can evolve as well, in terms of the ability to think analytically, in terms of staying ahead, in terms of also preserving everything that is important for us. Like you said, the liberal arts, like aesthetics, beauty, things that we enjoy. Yes, I know that AI can produce art, but is it the same? Does it have the same soul, or does it have the same output and the same emotional impact? Maybe yes, maybe not. Then you have to produce something that doesn't. Like,
Yes.
you just have to evolve to a whole level. I mean, it is the same, if you look at evolution, okay, you had a caveman.
Mm-hmm.
it took like, that was the whole day just to set up to lead the fire. Now we can use it like an instant. So that skill doesn't be needed anymore. There were other skills that evolved. So it's a matter of an evolution and finding out the new skills.
Yeah, totally.
So what do you think? I mean, how do you see you're going to contribute? Obviously, you have the app, you have the Emovid, you have the company, but how do you feel that you are going to make an impact in terms of not letting AI dominated conversation take over the world? Like what is your plan on that?
I wish I had a grand plan. I have a tiny bit of a plan, which is the whole reason I'm actually doing this particular business is around a pretty simple stakeholder framework, which I published a couple of years ago. I'm a huge believer in what I would call balanced stakeholder leadership, right? That you as a CEO have to balance all the stakeholders. Like you can't just be shareholder primary. And there are still so many business owners that I see that are just I call that group mercenaries, the CEOs or the leaders that really it's just all purely financial gain. So they're either mercenaries or they're mercenaries in disguise. But they should be what I call citizens, right? So what is this? A business citizen is someone that manages your employees, customers, yes, shareholders, and also society, right? These four stakeholders, your business will impact. It will both rely on those resources and it will also impact, right, those groups. And so my answer to your question is like, we just need more business citizens leading companies because AI and what AI brings is, there's some of the worst potential downstream impacts, what I call second order impacts, right? That if we don't run these business appropriately, right, we could do some really, really bad things. And those trade-offs are hard, right? The trade-offs between shareholder and society are hard trade-offs to make, but we do need to make them. So yeah, my short answer is I would just, if I can make a small dent in how people think about balancing those stakeholders, then I will feel good. And Emovid is just an example. It's actually an example of like how do you build a technology company, yes, that uses AI, but is balancing all those stakeholders appropriately and really thinking about the downstream impacts.
Absolutely. It's our responsibility. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Victor, thank you for being, this has been a great conversation. And if people want to learn more about Emovid, where should they go?
Easy. Just go to emovid.com. It's www.emovid.com. You can sign up. There's a free trial. Check it out. Start saving time and building stronger relationships. And you can learn a ton more about me, including reading about the fourth stakeholder framework, what drives me, all at victorcho.com, which is victorcho.com. One little thing out there that you'll find for any younger folks that are going through their career growth arc, there's actually a free course that I put out several years ago that basically unpacks all of the leadership training I ever got, the most important lessons, and I've just kind of put that out there for folks. So please take a look at that and hopefully enjoy that.
Good. How can they get to that one?
It's just that there's a course button right off of the website, and they can just start taking it.
Good. So we'll include it in the show notes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor. That has been a great conversation, and I absolutely encourage our listeners to go to emovid.com and victorcho.com and find out that free course. Sounds amazing, and check out Emovid. And let's make it a better world, a world that is easier to get along in because we have all the technology, but we also maintain being good humans that have responsibility.
It'll be a wonderful world.
Absolutely, and we're building it. So thank you, Victor.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.